Let's talk about Hindenburg and more specifically about the podcast editing aspect of this wonderful DAW, this wonderful software. Okay, so here's an overview I want you to think about. When you think about Hindenburg, I want you to think about one of the best DAWs in the market right now. So DAWs, digital audio software, and this is an important element, digital audio workstation, by the way. So, and this is actually another way of calling a podcast editor. Okay, because the thing is that Hindenburg actually it's kind of cool because the way it really helps you shine in your podcast is really fantastic. Because at the end of the day, when you really think about it, good audio is an essential aspect of any podcast, right? And when you actually have a software tool such as Hindenburg, it really helps you with how you can actually level up your audio and bring it to the next level, really. Okay. And so when you think about Hindenburg, I want you to think about a digital audio workstation, a DAW. But the thing is that there are actually a significant differences between other DAWs and Hindenburg. And for the most part, popular DAWs focus on music production or mixing and mastering. And the Hindenburg journalist is actually the opposite of that when you think about it, because you have a set of capabilities that actually come out of the software tool that allow you to actually get things done a lot faster. Because when you compare and contrast, let's say Audacity and Audacity to Hindenburg, you see a lot of differences. Not just because Audacity is better or Hindenburg is better. It's just that every DAW does a different thing. Addresses a different set of challenges, if you will. Okay, and so the thing is that Hindenburg and other DAWs are really viable for making podcasts, but using them it can be an overkill, especially if you are trying to bring up the quality of your audio. Okay, so when you close your eyes and think about Hindenburg, think about a tool that does away with all those fancy knobs, sliders, and complicated settings. The software is very easy to use. You can import audio from another project, such as a voice recorder, or actually record straight into the software. And to record it, this is the process. It's even simpler. Select the track you wish to record and hit Arm Record to prepare the track. Then hit Record to get started. And you can actually do almost everything with the shortcuts. Okay. So what you want to do is, if you are interested in using Hindenburg, you want to learn and memorize your shortcuts to actually streamline your editing even more. That's going to help you down the road. Let me go through a set of things that I believe are really making Hindenburg the best podcast software this year, especially when it comes to editing. Okay. And so first of all, you have the Auto Leveler. So Auto Leveler actually it's kind of cool because it immediately adjusts the audio, bringing the clip up or down, depending on the quality of the original quality of the audio. Okay, and so that's kind of cool. And the cool thing here is that the Auto Leveler does such a fantastic job to your podcast that you are going to think that you actually recorded the podcast inside a soundproof studio. It doesn't matter if you recorded the podcast in your basement, in your backyard, in your front yard, or even in your office. Okay. Because what happens here is that the raw audio recorded on Hindenburg before any manual adjustments can sound great to you. But when you have actually the Auto Leveler, you are going to be even more satisfied. Okay. So besides the Auto Leveler within Hindenburg, you also have to think about clip handles. And so basically, Hindenburg is actually very easy to use. It's very easy to deal with clips. It's actually based on the investigation that we did. It's actually one of the most straightforward programs out there that actually takes next to no time to learn how to use. And so I'm talking to you about what there's no steep learning curve. So if you are a podcaster, it doesn't matter if you are a neophyte or you are an experienced podcaster with an established audience. You're gonna love the fact that clicking on the handles of a clip manipulate it in different ways, and Hindenburg is actually making the whole process a lot easier for you. Okay, so if you click on one of the corners with your mouse, you can drag it inward to create a fading or fade out effect. Also, you can click on the top of the clip and drag it up or down to actually adjust sound level. So that's really fantastic in terms of ease of use. If you were to compare and contrast, let's say Hindenburg to Audacity, for instance, on Audacity, what happens here is that fitting in or out involves actually diving into the settings. If the Auto Leveler is not to your liking, you need to feel free to change it manually, but you have to change it manually. Whereas in Hindenburg, things are done automatically. So when you think about Hindenburg, what makes Hindenburg one of the best podcast editing software tools this year is actually the clipboard. So besides the clip handles, the auto leveler, you also have the clipboard. And so what happens here is that you can move a clip into the clipboard to use later, okay? And the clipboard is handy when editing an interview where you want to add a narration in between clips, okay? So this is kind of cool, especially when it comes to diversity, when it comes to scalability. One thing I want to say here is that basically you are able to get things done a lot faster within Hindenburg. For example, you can actually add audios, you can add videos of, sorry about this. Okay, yeah, so you can add videos, you can add audios, you can do a lot of things depending on how you want to really structure your podcast, okay? So you have a clipboard, you also have a play selected. So what happens here is that within Hindenburg, playback is actually primarily similar to DAWs. You'll still have buttons such as play, pause, stop, forward, backward, and others, okay? But in Hindenburg Journalist, you click your mouse over any part of the timeline and move it forward or backwards to select the desired audio section. What happens here is that you have to really ask yourself what kind of effect you want your podcast to actually reflect. What kind of sound relationship do you want to establish with your audience, with your listeners? Okay, and so actually Hindenburg helps you there, especially when it comes to a play selected, because one of the features that you will find very interesting and very necessary within Hindenburg Journalist is the play selection, and the shortcut is actually Shift Space Bar, and the play selection only plays the selected audio. So the chosen audio starts at the green bar and ends at the red bar. And by using the Shift Space Bar, you can listen to only the selected audio. So this is kind of cool. And you can actually use that all the time to inspect clips to see if the sound is great, if your voice is great, if the quality is great, blah, 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 okay? And you can actually adjust the selected audio by clicking the green or red bar and moving it. And when moving a clip into the clipboard, this feature can ensure that you can only choose the audio you need and nothing more. So that's kind of cool, especially when it comes to efficiency. When you think about Hindenburg, and one of the reasons why this podcast editing software is actually one of the best, is that you have the rehearse clip feature. And the thing is that when you do a podcast, especially when you are doing what I call a serial podcast here. In other words, you'll record an entire episode. Sometimes certain clips can be good. Certain clips can be really bad. It really depends. Okay, it depends on your inspiration. It depends on the equipment you have. It depends on the environment. So Hindenburg actually offers a similar feature called rehearse clip. So Control Shift Spacebar, that's the shortcut, and the rehearse clip. Actually, the feature works by playing the audio a few seconds before the selected audio and skipping it to start where the selected audio ends. So that gives you a lot of flexibility. Let me give you an example. So if you want to delete a portion of the audio, all you have to do is select it, then use this feature to hear how the track will sound once you remove that specific bit of audio. Okay, and so that's kind of cool. And when it comes to Hindenburg, you could also maybe try the pro version. I mean, of course, you have the journalist version. Journalist version is kind of cool. It's kind of decent. It gives you all the capabilities you need in the first place. Okay, so if you are a neophyte podcaster or you are just an experienced podcaster who just would like to take things slowly, then you might want to go with the Hindenburg journalist version. But then you can go with a pro version. Now, when you think about pro version, you have multi-track recording. So multi-track recording is really cool. Why? Because first of all, to record multiple people at the same time in one location via several microphones, that's really fantastic, okay? Or to record a long-distance podcast with several people via Skype or Zoom. So this is kind of cool because multi-track recording capabilities can really empower you to do that. Either way, recording on multiple tracks takes actually a lot of time, a lot of effort, that's for sure, but it makes editing more manageable since you can adjust each track instead of all the tracks at once. And from an audio editing perspective, this is a big time saver. Now, when you think about Hindenburg, you and one of the reasons why you want to really maybe consider using this podcast editing software tool is because you actually want to stop once and for all the long distance podcasting ordeal, right? I mean, if you, again, going back to what I said earlier, whether you are a neophyte, you are a rookie, or you are a veteran podcaster, if you are going to do a long distance podcasting, things can be complicated. Okay, things can get quickly complicated. See, recording sound that actually passes through your computer is easy with Hindenburg. You can do it by simply setting the input source to other applications instead of your microphone. The problem, however, is that when you set up a Skype or Zoom call with your guest, Hindenburg journalists will only record the incoming audio since it can only record one track at a time. This leaves you with only one side of the conversation. And this is not really where you want to be at, okay? This is not the situation you want to have, because you want to have this sort of multi-dimensional aspect to your podcast. So to remedy this, you could use software to route all audio into one track, but then you're left with only one track for all the voices on the podcast, which is really it's not really ideal for editing. So if you plan on hosting a long distance podcast, you may want to buy Hindenburg Pro, okay? And you could use Hindenburg Journalist for editing, and something like Zencaster, a long distance podcast recording service that we actually that we reviewed on this show. And you can use Zencaster to record your audio. However, those monthly Zencaster fees would eventually catch up to the cost of Hindenburg Journalist Pro. On the other hand, the $375 to $500 price tag is much higher than even Logic Pro X or Pro Tools, so it's worth thinking over. You gotta really you gotta think it over. You gotta think about your budget. You gotta think about your resources. Other resources, not just monetary. You gotta think about logistical, your team, okay? And it's one of those things where you have to really understand that it has to be worth the money, okay? It has to be there for the ROI. I mean, Hindenburg Pro has more features than just multi-track recording, such as noise reduction, voice profiler pro, loudness normalization, and others. Okay, but the thing is that you have to really understand that what the kind of features you want will cost you extra, and those extra features you should be actually worth it for you. Otherwise, you are not going to benefit from the tool at all. That's one thing to really think about, especially in the long run. So the thing is, if your goal this year is actually to start podcasting and become a great podcaster over time, you have to begin somewhere, right? You want to start now, and you want to really make sure that you have a decent software tool at the beginning. So maybe plug your microphone in. It doesn't have to be fancy at all, and talk about a topic you are passionate about. And it's one of those things where you want to establish that relationship with your audience. You want to really not only come out as a thought leader on the topic, but also come out as a very engaged podcaster. And if you and a friend or a family member, for that matter, share the same passion, record your conversation, and choose a good podcast editor that you trust and is easy to use. So you want to trim your podcast down, remove some of the ums, adjust your sound levels, and maybe add an intro song. And this is an important element to think about. Now, it's important to understand that you can do all those things with Hindenburg Journalist, that's for sure, this year. But the thing is, if for any reason Hindenburg Journalist is not really the perfect DAW, the perfect digital audio workstation for you, you can try other players. You have, I think I mentioned Audacity before. You know, this is one of those things where you have to think about. And so when you think about Audacity, I want you to think about a great audio editor of choice for a lot of reasons. It's completely free and to use and download, and there are tons of online tutorials and YouTube videos. So when you think about Audacity, it's really easy to learn and use. And I love Audacity because it can run on almost any machine across Windows, Mac OS, and even certain Linux distributions. So when you think about the Audacity, especially for such a lightweight software tool. It's pretty versatile. It really gives you some element of autonomy, element of freedom. Now, the only thing I don't like about Audacity is that the UX is very outdated. The software itself is very outdated. That's what happens when you have something free, right? Because the provider is not really improving it. It's not really improving it. So this could be a little problematic. If you want quality, Audacity might not be the best tool, especially if you want to scale. Besides Audacity, you can think about Adobe Audition, and Adobe Audition actually is part of Adobe's Creative Cloud. And so regarding podcast, Audition has a podcast voice preset that slightly changes the sound of your voice, giving it that podcast quality sound you want. Okay, it works about 25% of the time, and that's really what we have seen based on our investigations. So the Adobe actually suite is favored because you have a lot of online tutorials and videos about it. Okay, also you got to really think also is that Adobe products are not actually cheap, so something to really think about. So, what are the closing remarks here? What do you think about Hindenburg journalist? Why is this year? Why is this software tool the best podcast editing software tools? But the thing is that you have to really ask yourself, what are you looking for? Because you have Hindenburg. When I speak about Hindenburg, I'm not just speaking about Hindenburg journalist. I'm speaking about Hindenburg Pro. I'm speaking about Hindenburg Pro 2. Yeah, they have a second release. And the cool thing about Hindenburg Pro 2 is that you have a tool that can run on Windows or Mac OS alongside the original file. So you have a lot of possibilities here. And you also have, and that's kind of cool also because you besides editing, you also have a transcription tool within Hindenburg. So the transcription tool is really fantastic because you are able to enable transcription on your laptop. So just like everything else with Hindenburg, transcription in Hindenburg is entirely done on your machine instead of by uploading audio to the cloud. Just right click any clip in the edit window and select transcribe. And the tool actually transcribes that clip for you without any requirement for an internet connection, which really, when you think about it, offers flexibility. In other words, you can edit a package or a podcast while you are on a train or, or while flying. So, and this also means that there's no chance of the audio of your big exclusive story appearing somewhere online before you have broken it. So it's really cool, especially flexibility. So I love that a lot. But one thing you have to really ask yourself this year, are you going to where are you trying, why, or let's say, why do you want to buy Hindenburg in the first place? Or do you even want to buy Hindenburg? And the second question is, where are you trying to bring your podcast next? Because everybody wants to bring their podcast to the next level, right? People use the term next level. And so what is your next level? What does your next level look like? Talk to me about that. So you got to really have a clear idea about that next level. Once you have that, then you can actually think about the resources it might take for you to bring your podcast to that next level. Okay. And so maybe it's Hindenburg journalist. Maybe it's Hindenburg Pro 2. Maybe it's another software tool. It can be Audacity. It can be Adobe Audition. It can be other players. It really depends on, again, going back to what I said, what kind of next level you're trying to reach. So here's the bottom line here. In today's conversation, I spoke to you about why Hindenburg is the best podcast editing software this year. I give you the overview, the closing remarks, and now the bottom line. Thank you so much. God bless you. I'll see you next time. Until then, remember, stay marvelous.